Hello, and welcome to the village. Welcome.
Hey guys.
All right, here we go, and we're back. Can you hear us? All right, good. Welcome to the village. I'm your girl, Dr. Roz, CEO and founder of the Village Leadership Group LLC, and I'm with my girl, Coach Williams.
You know I had to join her. Hey guys, I'm Coach Williams. I'm the content supervisor for the Village Leadership Group LLC.
Listen, thanks for joining us. We're all about building a community of educators committed to education, leadership, community, collaboration, and service. Listen, we are both leadership coaches, instructional coaches, lead teachers,
Counselors.
We love to serve and we love to encourage, inspire, and motivate teachers. So, we want to make sure that you join our discussion because today we're talking about spooky observations. Wait,
Woo.
no more spooky observations. It's Halloween time, but it's also time where teachers are being observed. So, we're going to talk about observations. So, join the discussion, share your story, the good, the bad,
and the ugly,
and the spooky. But before we jump into our discussion, we also want to remind you of some exciting news. As you know, we've been working on our book, and it's coming out. Woo,
right there.
So it's about to launch. We're going to have a big celebration to launch our book, but we just want to keep, reminding you that it's coming. Set your team on fire, the 3 elements of a professional learning community. Whew, it includes information that we've all experienced as teacher leaders, trying to build this collaborative school culture and the ups and downs of it. And we want to make sure that you guys have the foundation and the tools and the different things that you need to make sure that it happens, right? So again, you want to get this book, Set Your Team on Fire, the 3 elements of a professional learning community, all right? So let's get to it. So we are going to just give you some tips. So again, we have some information for you. Again, the whole premise of our conversation is that we want to make sure that teachers are not scared of having formal observations. So if you are a new teacher, a veteran teacher, you want to jump in and follow along. Add some comments, your questions, your concerns, your fears when it comes to being observed. So, no more spooky observations. We want to take them. They're not scary, right? All right. So let's get to it. So the first thing that we're going to share are some haunted horrors.
Ooh. Need some sound effects.
Right. These are the things that you want to avoid.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Don't do it. All right. So the first thing, introduce a new strategy or procedure. Coach Williams, why should teachers avoid introducing a new strategy or procedure when it's time for a observation?
So I'm gonna talk about my experience because I know they don't have these type of students. But you know how you set your routines at the beginning of the school year, and you guys are in the flow of it. So your students know exactly what to expect. On the day of an observation, you already are a bottle of nerves. Your students actually are nervous as well because they want to perform for you. They want to do well. But introducing that new platform, that new procedure is going to knock them off their game because they don't know the expectations. And they're going to be a little nervous as well. So you're nervous trying to roll this out. You haven't really worked out the kinks with your students. And so it's a sticky situation. You can roll the dice, but I'm gonna tell you from experience.
Don't try it.
Don't try it.
Just avoid it. Don't try anything new. And don't say, okay, well, today doing reading rotations, instead of the normal routine, we're gonna try something else. Let's try something new. And I'm gonna ring a bell to get your attention. You're gonna rotate to the left, not to the right. You rotate to the left. And then when you ring the bell, the kid's like, what in the world? What are we doing? And now it just looks like it's confusion, right? So don't try something new on the day of the observation where it's going to kind of throw everything off. So that's point number 1. The haunted horror. Don't do it. Okay. Now we're gonna keep it rolling. Another thing that you don't want to do is to wing it.
Out here.
You
Just making it up
just
on the
making
cuff.
it up. Now I am guilty of this. Okay, so it's my turn. So when you've been teaching for
How many years?
10, 15 plus years,
That's okay.
you think you got it, right?
Of
And
course.
you know the principal or administrator say, oh, Dr. Gass, I'm gonna be in your classroom this Thursday or next Thursday. Da da da. You go, oh, stop by.
Come on in.
Come on. And then you realize, it's the day of my observation. You know, no problem. I'll just wing it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Even if you are new, old, veteran, 20 years, 30 years, don't wing it. Put the date on your calendar and plan for it.
Absolutely.
Don't wing it. Things are going to fail. Things are going to mess up because you're just winging it. And guess what? Administrators know when you're winging it.
That's faking the funk.
Right.
It stinks. We can smell it.
Right. And then the students are looking at you like, what is she doing?
Out here. Just looking crazy.
Looking crazy. Yeah. So don't wing it. You want to be playing. Now, Coach Williams, be honest. Do you always plan thoroughly when you're getting ready to be observed?
Okay, so for my observations, so there's two sides.
Okay, I'm listening.
The old, like the newbie in me, I planned out every single detail.
Okay, that's good.
Because I was very nervous, right? And I'm trying to think about and anticipate some things.
Right.
But of course, when you are a vet and you've been in the game for a little while, you kind of do have a loose plan and you kind of know, okay, I know Dr. Roz, when we get to this part, she gonna act up. So you have little things for those students, right? So you kind of have a shell of that idea. So new teachers, I would say structure that thing all the way down so that you have your plan.
Right.
But veteran teachers, sometimes we do have some gaps, but we can fill those in. But we don't go in there just bare with nothing.
With nothing. Okay, so I like it. So again, haunted horror. Stay away from just winging it. All right, next up. Again, these are the haunted horrors because we want to make sure that you're prepared for your observations. So we said don't introduce anything new. No new strategies, no new procedures. Don't wing it, and please don't act brand new. What does that mean, Coach Williams? Don't act brand new.
So, like I keep saying, I don't know if you all have these students, but my students and I, we've developed a very good rapport with one another. So, we have our own way to talk to each other. And sometimes it's not proper English, correct? Right? So if I'm relating to them, all right, y'all, we're going to divide that thing, right? Well, if I'm having an observation, I'm like, okay, we're going to use the property of division. My students be like, what's wrong with you? You okay?
Miss Williams, what are you talking about?
What are you doing? Be authentic. The same relationship, the same way that you communicate with your students, do the same thing. Because let me tell you, my students will call you out. So whatever routine,
never act like that.
Why you acting because they did?
Right, exactly. So don't act brand new. Keep it the same. Have the same energy, the same, laughs, jokes, whatever you normally do with your students. Do the same thing when the administrator is in the room.
Then make them feel more comfortable.
Exactly. Don't act brand new. I hate when I know a teacher is normally, a jokester or very warm and caring to the student. Then when I'm in there, they want to change up their whole personality. And I'm like, that's not what I want to see.
That's not what I want to see.
Don't fake it. Be you. All right. Because that's what we want to see. All right. So let's go back to the haunted horror. Things to avoid. All right. Don't give a test.
Oh my God.
On the day of observation, especially if it's been announced. And that means that the principal or administrator is coming to you. They put the date on the calendar. They said they were coming. They had a pre-observation. They met with you. And then for some strange reason, when they came in, you give it a quiz or a test. And it's like, oh no, the students are taking the test. So for 30 minutes, your students are silent. You are silent.
Everybody's silent. But that kind of jumps into that other point that we had too, is not giving a test and not lecturing. Because sometimes they are lecturing the entire time. You'd be like, hold up, wait a minute. Is it just a teacher show? We want to see how the students engage. We want to see how you engage with the students. If the teacher is on stage all of the time, guess what?
Mm-hmm.
We don't ever get to see that other perspective. How do we know that the students are learning?
Right. Right.
We know you got it. What they got?
All right. So again, avoid it. That's a haunted horror. Don't do it. Avoid it during the observation. Okay. We don't want to see that. Then the next thing, again, we like you said, lecturing. You don't want to lecture throughout the whole thing. You want to make sure that your students are part of it. And we're going to keep going because we kind of talked about lecturing and giving a test at the same time. So we're going to go ahead to the next one. Do not, please, ignore misbehaviors. Just don't keep on going. But like, no, I want to get through my whole lesson because I'm being observed. So little Kenny is acting up. I'm gonna just ignore it, or something's happening over there. I'm gonna just act like I didn't see it. No, the principal or the assistant principal, whoever's in there, they want to see how you respond to that.
Mm-hmm.
Things are gonna happen, right? So don't just ignore it. It could be, going over to little Timmy's or little Mary's desk, put your hand on the desk just to give them a nonverbal cue to say, hey, get back on track. That's what they're looking for. How do you redirect students? How do you respond when someone's acting out? What are your norms for dealing with that? Do you have a consequence for misbehaving students? So again, you want to make sure that you respond. And you don't have to respond in a new way and start yelling, put it down. How do you normally respond when a student is acting out or acting up in class, right? Or a student doesn't have a pencil. Oh my goodness, you don't have a pencil? Is that how you normally respond to students when they come to school or come to class, and they're not prepared? So again, make sure that you respond to misbehaviors. Coach Williams?
I was going to say the same thing. A lot of times when the students are misbehaving, I always had a post-it note, and I'll write them a kind little note on their desk. It was kind. We don't have any evidence of it anymore because it's been destroyed.
She probably burned it.
But sometimes, and a lot of times, my students were very responsive because I wasn't putting them on blast.
Right,
it's not that pull for authority, right? And then they were corrected because once you pass them the note, then you give them the look.
What's the look again?
Spooky.
It's a horror. It's a horror for the student.
Some of my old students might be chiming in like, oh my God, flashback.
Right. All right. So those are the haunted horrors. So these are things to avoid, right? Again, we talk about no more spooky observations. You should welcome opportunities to get feedback from your administrators, from your coaches, or for anyone that's going to observe you. Welcome it, because it's a way for you to improve on your practice. So we don't want it to be spooky. Don't have to be fearful of it. You want to welcome that critique and that feedback. Now, there are some sweet treats that we have for you. So these are the things we want you to do in order to prepare for your observations, okay? Again, these are things that we want you to do.
So haunted horrors,
don't do it. Sweet treats.
That's up next.
All right, so you want to facilitate discussions. That's what we want to see. We want to see this. When I say we, because y'all know I'm an assistant principal now. So when I go in, that's the first thing I want to see is that the teacher is facilitating discussions. I want to see the students talking. So what's the opposite of the students talking? The teacher talking all the time. So that's not your job. Your job is to facilitate the learning. So facilitate. Get off stage and let the students talk and be involved and engaged in discussion.
Exactly.
Coach Williams.
You really want the opportunity for you to see, for the observer to see you in a new element, right? They're able to see how that looks, that student discourse. A lot of times we want to be on stage so much because we have so much to offer, but you will be
and control.
I
wasn't control the environment when you feel like you can control the environment when you're talking.
Right.
Well, so I'm talking, I'm leading the learning, I'm in charge. No.
You want to let your students see and hear what they had, their ideas. You would be amazed at some of the things that they would add to the conversation. And honestly, I'm gonna leave this extra sweet treat. A lot of times the observer will get in the conversation with the student And that kind of levels up your discussion too, because the students are able to communicate. And if they do kind of go over into the group, might not be having the best conversation, you help guide that conversation. You kind of hover and just jump in.
Right. So that's a sweet treat. These are things that we want you to do for your observations. The next thing again kind of ties into that student discourse. Now, again, remember, you don't want to try anything new. So make sure that students are used to talking, right, and that they're using accountable talk. If you have students who aren't used to having these engaging conversations and discussions, you may want to put some prompts up around the room or give them some sentence starters so that they can have these conversations, or even questions ahead of time so that they can have this rich discourse that you want to see.
And model it.
Oh, yes.
Model it for the class. Model it for your observer. Wouldn't that be awesome? You are modeling the expectations for student discourse. Even if your students have done it already, that's a great way to engage. You can pick the student, and you all can kind of go back and forth.
Yep.
But the students need to have a clear expectation, and then the observer can also see that you have set those expectations.
Right. And don't just say, "Oh, turn and talk to your neighbor about what we just talked about."
What are you saying?
No. You want to give clear expectations. What are we saying in our groups? So, turn and talk to your neighbor, and I want the person who's the tallest or the person on the right side to answer this question. And here's the question. And you can start that question with "I think" or "I believe," to help guide the conversation. Or you let them know, what are you listening for? Maybe there's some vocabulary that's listed on a chart paper or on the board, and you can say, during your discussion.
Chart paper is old school, but go ahead.
Oh, we're about to have a haunted horror right now.
Okay. She's dating herself. We're on smart boards now, but go ahead.
Anyway, so like I was saying, that's what's wrong with these rules. Okay, anyway, sweet treat. Okay, so you want to make sure if it's vocabulary that you want to hear in the discussion that you have available, posted somewhere in the classroom, smart board, chart, whatever, chalkboard. I don't care. I'm sorry. Okay,
I'm angry.
We're about to be a little spooky. Okay, we're on sweet treats. All right, here we go. So student discourse, that's what you want. And again, you want to make sure you're prepared for the student discourse. Okay, hot questions.
Got a little hot there.
Yes, I did. Okay, so what are hot questions, Coach Williams?
Of course, that's that higher order thinking, right? You want to make sure that you're not just staying low level, right?
But sometimes you need low level questions.
Yeah, but we need to make sure we scaffold it on up. Okay, they might not be able to tell you derive the Pythagorean theorem, but we can start them there with some triangles. Okay, let's get them up there. But having those questions, and honestly, having those questions kind of scripted out already, right? You already know the questions of where you need to start with your students. Some of them, like you said, you got scaffold it up. Or maybe you ask that higher order thinking question.
And let them talk about it.
And let them discuss
and say, well, what do you already know? Let's break this down. So it's good sometimes to start high. All right, so I like that. So again, hot questions, higher order thinking questions. Again, you can give some of these questions to your students ahead of time. Or give them to your groups, like have questions. Each group gets a different question and let them ponder it. So I love that. Hot questions. And then the next sweet treat, student choice. Oh my goodness, y'all. Okay, now I have to talk about this.
So, you gotta let go.
You have to let go. So that is part of, and we are in the DMV in PG County, and we use the framework for teaching for our evaluations and our observations. So in order to get to distinguish, you need to let the students, be a part of the lesson, meaning that they have some choice, they have some say, they're asking questions, they're leading the discussion, they're helping to guide the lesson and the flow of the lesson. So if you're making all of the decisions throughout the lesson, then you're not going to get to that distinguished level. So today I was in a class and I was observing, and a teacher gave directions for an assignment. All of this teacher's students were confused, like literally, and they were confused because they didn't understand the reason why he was giving them a group assignment, but yet he wanted individual presentations. And it was like, but we did it as a group. Why do we need to present individually if we work? And so they were trying to give some suggestions. He ignored them. So if he would have said, oh, well, tell me more. How would you like to give your presentation? Or what do you think is the best way for this assignment to go? So again, giving the students input and letting them help create their assessments, their assignments, you'll get to the distinguished level.
I remember, so this wasn't an observation, but I was out, had a substitute, and I actually left a tic-tac-toe board. So, tic-tac-toe, you need 3 in a row.
Yep.
So the students, they know how to play tic-tac-toe, and that was their only direction. You had to do 3 assignments in a row, and you got to pick. Now, because I do have issues with letting go sometimes, just a little bit, whatever way that they pick, they always had a vocabulary assignment. So being strategic as well about what you offer. For those of us who can let go just a little bit, but we still had a string in our hand. Those are other ways to kind of give students choice, but also making sure that it's still structured enough for them to reach that objective that you want them to get.
Awesome. Okay, I like it. Student choice, but not really. Okay. All right, the next sweet treat that we want to see, you want to make sure that you have clearly defined rituals and routines, and it's flowing. Like
it's not the day of.
It's not. Oh, this is brand new today. Like the students are moving around, they're doing different things because they've done it a lot. So how do they go sharpen their pencils? How do they ask to go to the restroom? How do they rotate to their different stations? How do they turn in their homework? What happens when I act up? What is the consequence? So again, you want clearly defined rituals and routines. Back in my day, we used to put posters up.
Oh man, we still put up posters.
Somebody would be all tech savvy, But anyway, again, you want to make sure not that it's just posted, but the students live it and they know it, and you can see it in the classroom because everything's flowing. So I love that, and they know what to expect. They know what to do when they get into the classroom, and they know what is going to happen throughout the lesson because everything is routine.
And I would even say introduce this part of the routine, or even making them understand that there is a visitor, right? I always did that and be like, hi, Dr. Gaskins is here. Remember I told you she was coming? And I would always tell my students, oh, they're coming to watch me as we engage in this learning together. So right there, they know who's in the room. They know why, and they know what to expect, right? And after that, you can see kind of that level of tension kind of break down. And honestly, some of the kids were like, oh, I forgot they were back there. Exactly. Because you are doing what you're supposed to, and we're doing this together. Right?
Exactly. And also, if you know the administrator or someone is coming in, make sure you have a spot for them. Like now back in the day, I was a little extra. Like I would have an extra pen or something for them, a little water bottle. Like, oh, they're gonna sit right here. Them. Yeah, they're gonna sit right here. And I would tell the students, okay, when they come in, make sure they sit right here. We'll have a special comfy seat for them or whatever. It was always in a position where they could see everything. When I taught elementary school, I had my stations. I wanted them to be able to sit at each station. So I had a routine for
being extra.
Yes, I did. But your girl was
distinguished.
Okay.
Not to toot your own horn.
But anyway, moving on. Next sweet treat. Again, this is my favorite. You want to practice. Now I know someone. I did this too.
What?
The lesson that you are planning to do for your observation. Practice it. I taught middle school, and so sometimes I would start with the first period class, do that lesson. Okay, tweak some things. Second period, okay, my observation is not till fourth period. So I practice, or a couple of days before, do the lesson a few times. Especially do an experiment. I taught science. Don't wait.
Those things are not going to mix right. I don't care. They're not going to mix right.
Little explosion that was supposed to happen, it's not going to happen. If it was supposed to turn purple, it's going to turn red.
It's not going to do.
So make sure you practice beforehand. Like you said, technology, different apps. Practice before the day of the observation. Okay.
And I love I'm the younger sister, so I have nieces and nephews that can be my guinea pigs. I mean, not guinea pigs. I mean, my helpers.
Research assistant.
My research assistants.
Yeah.
But practicing it for that audience. Even sometimes I know, like talking to my students, I'm like, "Hey, what you think about this?" You have those kids that sometimes are a little bit intuitive, right? And they kind of like, "Oh no, I know my peers. They're gonna have issues with this part." You right, sis. Let me change it. But like you said, practicing it, going through it, making sure that what you are going to do is clear and your expectations for your students. Even have a sample or a model that you even want your students to come up with or produce if that's the flow of your lesson.
Awesome. This is some good stuff.
I'm ready to do an observation right now.
Yes. So hopefully we took the fear out of observation. So let's just recap. So again, we are talking about no more spooky observations. So we're going to recap again. You want to write this down. So
we start off with the horrors.
The haunted horrors are the things that you want to avoid. Do not do. Please. These are the haunted horrors. Introducing new strategy or procedure. Winging it. Don't do it. Don't act brand new on the day of the observation. Don't give a test. Don't lecture. And please don't ignore misbehavior. So those are the haunted horrors.
We're going to stay away from that.
Stay away from it. We want to make sure you guys enjoy your observation. So these are the sweet treats.
Little nuggets.
Facilitate discussions. You want to have student discourse, hot questions, those higher order thinking questions, student choice, rituals and routines down pat, and you want to practice.
I like it.
Woo! I hope y'all like those tips. Coach Williams, any final advice for our teachers, especially our new teachers who are a little nervous about their first formal observation?
One word: relax. Right? We know that you got this. This is about not catching you in the I got you moment. This is about perfecting that craft, right? Being able to learn how to better do your job, right? Getting that feedback. We can only grow with feedback. So breathe, relax. You got this. I had actually told a new teacher that earlier. Relax, you got this.
Right.
It's going to be fine.
And if you don't have it, if things bomb, guess what? You'll be all right. Because we've all been there. We've all had a formal observation. We was like, oh, this was not good. This was not good at all. It's okay.
It's all right.
That's why they have more observations. And sometimes your administrator was like, I'm not going to put this one down in the books. We're just going to redo this one. Okay? Because if it really bombs. So again, it's okay. We've all been there. And guess what? Your principal or administrator, whoever, your coach, whoever's observing you, they've had a bad day. They've had lessons to bomb.
Several.
Right. So we understand. So don't beat yourself up and say, oh my God, I'm the worst teacher ever and I just need to quit. Please don't.
We need you.
We need you. Your students need you. Dust yourself off. Get back in the game. And if it goes well, get it. Toot your horn and be proud and keep it going. So again, I hope you enjoyed those sweet treats and stay away from those haunted horrors.
Don't do it.
Thank you so much for joining the discussion. Again, we want to hear from you. Join the discussion. Add your questions, your comments, your stories, the good, bad, and the spooky. Continue to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at The Village LG. And remember, teacher leadership is a mindset,
not a position.
See you next time.
Bye, y'all.